Welcome to Business Connection. I'm Liz Spencer. We have a wonderful guest in studio. It's Ronald Cass, and he's an attorney. Welcome, Ron.
Hi.
So you're celebrating 30 years.
This is it. It's our 30th anniversary. So
tell me a little bit. You have a wonderful, maybe it's mission or theme. Tell me a little bit about what that is.
Well, I always tell people my favorite movie is It's a Wonderful Life. And so when Peter Bailey is talking to George, and George is going to go out for the night, and he wants George to work in Bailey Building and Loan. And Peter says, I really think we're doing something important. It's deep in the human race to want a roof and walls, maybe a fireplace. Today, maybe an open set kitchen. But it's important for people to own their own home because that's our American dream. And it's been like that since It's a Wonderful Life. And in our office, we want to personalize it and make sure that people get to the American dream knowing how they got there.
That's awesome. I think that just takes, a lot of us have a lot of hesitation with lawyers and the whole process because it's scary. We don't know how to do that. But that story and that idea of tying it to the American dream is just so warm and wonderful. Tell me why we want to have an attorney at our side when we're buying a house.
Well, you're going to go meet a realtor who is going to be working on commission, doesn't get paid until they close. You're going to be working with a mortgage broker who doesn't get paid until you close. You're going to work with an attorney who's going to get paid at the closing and never gets paid in advance. And our job is to make sure that you get through this transaction knowing what you're signing. Our fees haven't changed much in 20 years.
Wow.
And as the price of property has gone up, realtors have made more money, mortgage brokers have made more money. But attorneys are still probably the best value out there to make sure that you're going through 14 pages of documents with about 40 paragraphs and knowing what you're signing and what you're doing at the closing table when you're then signing about 100 pages of documents, as opposed to when you buy a car and you haven't a clue what you're signing.
I just think about many times where we sign things and somebody explains it to us, or, they push the paper and I think, well, I should have thought a little bit more before I signed that. So.
And the worst one is when you buy a car, that man who's sending you that document can read those documents upside down and he knows what they say, but you don't.
That's right. Do you do other legal work?
I used to do a lot of divorce work. Okay. I did 25 years I did that. And then the kids started college and I said, I think I'm going to focus on real estate more. I was doing about half real estate, half divorce. And I decided to focus in on real estate. Now we're on to our second office that we've opened in Geneva. So we're in downtown Geneva and we're over across the street from Neuqua Valley High School. Wonderful.
Wonderful, because I think real estate and home buying is again part of the American dream and something that when you specialize in it, then you know exactly what you're doing. You're not trying to do this and everything else. So I think that's awesome.
I remember when I bought my first property. It was a condo. This was back in '79. It was condomania when interest rates were flying up, and I think I paid 10.9% for my rate.
Wow.
By the time it closed.
Wow.
That had jumped to 0.5% for the 2 weeks before the closing. It was a different time. And yes. I bought a property, didn't have a clue as to the value of why I bought it. I just knew my parents were really proud. And that's one of the things that I love about doing a closing is when a parent comes to see their kids do a closing. The tears are just, it's great.
It's wonderful, and there's tears for many reasons. What are the most important things we need to think about when we have a real estate transaction going?
Well, first is you get a good team. You get a realtor that you trust, not a realtor who's trying to sell you. A realtor that listens and finds your key. You have to have an objective, what you can afford. Your lender tells you that. Your realtor can tell you that. Someone who can do a net sheet to tell you how much you can afford, what's the cost of this loan going to be. Then your attorney who tells you, okay, this is the decision you made. You've got 5 business days to get out of this transaction if you start getting cold feet, and we can get people out of the transaction. Most people don't know that they can back out of a deal. But that's one of the consumer protections that we have, is to allow people to get out of a transaction. If the property you inspected doesn't turn out the way you like it, you can get out of the transaction, or you can ask for concessions. These are all things that the attorney does. And we monitor the mortgage, we monitor the inspection, we read surveys, we go through all of your documentation, and then we coordinate with title insurance. Title insurance is probably one of the bigger expenses now because of the crash. There was a huge amount of claims for title insurance during the crash, and that's one of the reasons it's more expensive now. But we handle all of that transaction and make sure that you know what you're doing while you're closing.
Well, and that's awesome. How many people work with you?
I have one paralegal who handles nothing but sales, and another handles nothing but purchases. So I have Sharon doing sales and Sheila doing purchases. We do probably about 400 transactions a year.
Wow.
And they manage it pretty well.
That's awesome. You mentioned the word key, and that's important to you. You want people to learn how to key into something. You had a wonderful story.
Everybody has something that is important to them, and it's the thing that opens the door. I was at CVS picking up my prescriptions, and an older gentleman, probably in his 80s, is just frantic. He's walking through, saying, I lost my key. I lost my key to the car. I can't find it. I can't get home. And the pharmacist is walking up and down the aisle with him, trying to find the key. I said, here, let me help you. What kind of car are you driving? He says, well, let me show you. So you go out. It's a brand new car. Now, there is no way that you are turning the key in a brand new car. So I said, why don't you get in your car and see if it starts? I don't have a key. I said, trust me. Gets in the car, starts. Yeah, how'd you know that? I said, my wife does it all the time. He dropped the key between the console. So we helped him find his key. And that's what we try to do with the clients. It's right there. You know it's right there. You just don't know where it's at. And we help them find the key to the transaction.
Well, and not only do you help them find the key to the transaction, but I think, much like your older gentleman friend, there's some panic and some frantic and some fear, and then you just keep us calm, too.
Oh, tremendous.
Yes.
And that's the office motto. Don't let the client see the sausage being made, because nobody should know how hard this is. And Sharon and Sheila are well-versed on keeping everybody calm.
Well, I think you have a great team in place, Ron, and I think that you're doing a great job of really helping us all achieve the American dream. Thanks so much for stopping by and sharing what you do.
Thanks a lot.
It's important work.
It was a pleasure.
We'll be right back with more Business Connection. Stay tuned.